I want to start by just reflecting on where we are at the moment. And we were meeting at a time when I would suggest that inequality is the defining theme of our age, whether that's the difference between vaccination, whether you're rich or poor, in terms of the impact of climate change, the impact in terms of whether you're rich or poor. And as Sam has mentioned in the introduction, whether you're rich or poor has a profound impact on your education opportunity. So, of course, there's always been inequality, though I think seldom have the extremes been so great and indeed the gap so wide. The deeper that I try to understand poverty, deprivation, crime, disadvantage, I became convinced that education was the principal way to end poverty and disadvantage. I start on the basis, I think Nelson Mandela was 100% right. He said education is the most powerful weapon with which you can change the world. And I think it has never been more important. We need all hands and brains on deck to deliver economic growth, sustain health, exploit technology, and meet the challenges of climate change faster and better than ever. The need has never been greater. We just need all of the talent. And you heard earlier, what's the number one issue? Businesses across the world at the moment getting access to the talent they need for their business. So we can't afford to waste any talent. Now, business gets this. In fact, I think business gets it 100%. But I think in business, we also question whether it's our duty and our responsibility to pay for education twice. Bear in mind, we already pay our income taxes, our corporate taxes. In fact, those tax rates are rising. The purpose of those taxes is to fund public services like health and education. So I think it's understandable why in business I might say, how many times do I have to pay for education? But against that background, what can we do? Well, when I thought about the exam question, I thought there's really two critical things if we want to inspire action and funding. It's to communicate and educate. And I start on the basis that those of us who live in the world of education, those of you who are familiar with the world of education, those of you even on the board of the FEA, you assume everybody else knows about the state of education in this country, and they do not. In fact, far from it. No matter how often I went to an event for Teach First, or I went to an event for business in the community and spoke about education, people were always surprised to hear the facts and the figures about disadvantage, about the 18-month lag time, about the number of GCSEs, depending on your postcode, etc. So I think one big question for us to ask is whether or not we presume that those of us who are passionate about this theme just assume that everyone else gets it. I think that's a big question. So I think we need to make the case for action clearly, frequently, and intensely. And it's not about a campaign. It's not about a report, it's about a campaign. I think all too often we think we've done a fantastic report, another one from the Sutton Trust, another one from somewhere else, another one from EPI. These reports, they're sources of fact, but unless they're take it into a serious long-term campaign, I question their real value. So what do I think we need to do? I think we need to make sure there's great clarity on what's the problem, what's the opportunity, what action needs to be taken in terms of decisions, in terms of resources, people, time, and money, what are the priorities, and why does this need to be done? Secondly, I think we need to inspire and mobilize. I mean, I was reflecting when I was thinking about this afternoon, I mean, the current situation is outrageous. I mean, it is absolutely, totally outrageous, unacceptable that in the sixth richest country in the world, we have the education disadvantage that we do. So why aren't we outraged? You know, are you outraged? Are your community outraged? And beyond that, is society? And in all that I've ever learned about the management of change, the first and vital ingredient is that people are dissatisfied with the present. So I think we need to inspire, mobilize, and then we need to lead a sustained campaign day in, day out, week in, week out, until action happens. Not that 25 of us sign a letter once every couple of years protesting and reminding. I think we've learned that doesn't work. And I think what we've learned is that we're dealing with such a high frequency of change in the Secretary of State for Education. We need to think about where do we need to take this battle beyond just DFE. So my other great hero would be Mahatma Gandhi. He said the future depends on what you do today. And I think that's why Sam and Gina have brought us all together.